Are you feeling lost in the digital wilderness? Welcome to Lost in Cyberia. We are your guide to navigating the world of cyberspace.
So whether you're a tech enthusiast or you're looking to land your first job in InfoSec, we're here to break things down into bite-sized pieces so that you don't have to. All right, well, welcome back to another episode of Lost in Cyberia. We're your hosts, Annie-Mei
and Anika.
And today we're going to be talking about a topic that I think is quite a common question that we both get asked, which is, do you need a cybersecurity degree to work in cyber? And I think for both of us, we have different experiences that can help to explain whether a degree would actually be helpful to somebody, based on the fact that, you know, I don't have a cyber degree, but I have degrees. And you?
Yes, I have an unfinished degree in non-cyber, and I'm about hopefully to finish my degree in cybersecurity and also criminology, which is a non-cyber related degree, hopefully this year. So,
yeah, cool. Yeah, so that's very exciting. So you're finished?
Yes, I have 5 units and work placement left.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm already working, so it's already happening.
Yeah.
So I have 5 units left, which is so exciting.
Yeah, cool. So we want to start off with just a bit of background information about, you know, what the kind of industry looks like, I guess, at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I think, like, to answer the question about, like, do you need to have a cybersecurity degree to work in cyber? Probably a lot of people will say it's probably a no, but it has like a asterisk.
Yeah. Caveat. Yeah.
It's a caveat thing. So the industry has a huge shortage of jobs. So according to the government,
shortage of people.
Sorry, yeah, shortage of people.
Yeah.
Sorry, you don't have a shortage of jobs. We have shortage of people. Yeah. It's been a long week.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, if there's shortage of jobs, like, maybe don't join this industry. Maybe look for something else.
Yeah. So. Please remove this from the transcript. No, so we have an abundance of positions available, and we don't have any people to fill it in. We have a dearth, I guess, of professionals filling in these jobs.
By saying that, though, there are now a lot of students coming through with degrees, and those entry-level jobs are hard to get now.
Correct.
Yeah,
yes,
whereas
absolutely.
before, I think there was the entry-level jobs were still fairly easy, but now we're a few years, 3 to 4 years down the track now with a lot of people graduating with degrees. I think it has changed quite a bit.
But obviously then we still have that gap of like the mid and the high level, because it will take some time for these entry-level jobs to progress forward. Yeah. And because of how new the cyber industry is, the dearth of job is the abundance of the jobs is probably more available on like a higher level, where it's harder to get a job than, I guess, without a degree or without some kind of a cybersecurity qualification, and most importantly, without cybersecurity experience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most important thing, is the skills versus the formal or professional education.
Yes.
So apparently there is an estimation to have about 104,000 jobs by 2026 that need to be filled in cybersecurity, and I think a lot of them will be probably in that higher threshold. And so it does appear very lucrative. It does appear like, okay, these are the positions that are available and they're very well paid. But then how do you get that? Yes, and as you said, it is the entry jobs. Yes, we do have a lot of people that can now study cybersecurity degrees, and not just degrees. They can go to TAFE, they can do diplomas, they can do certifications. So there are definitely more paths available to that. And we also have more professionals and recruiters that may decrease the requirements for entry-level positions, but these requirements still exist for mid-level positions and for higher-level positions. So that is the caveat in there, which is like, so if the question is, do I need to have a cybersecurity degree to get into an entry-level role? And if you consider the current competition that you may have with people that do study cybersecurity, then perhaps it's more of an inclination to say so. But if you are trying to transition into a mid-level or high-level position, then you may not necessarily need a cybersecurity degree, but you will need a degree, because if it's a mid to high level, definitely somebody like a CISO, you'll need a degree, or maybe a master's degree as well, obviously, in something, and then you'll need to have either cybersecurity skills or transferable skills. So you can showcase that you can actually have these skills applied to the cybersecurity field. Long answer, but I think it's covered a lot of the overview.
Yeah, I think the thing is too, and I felt like this too when I finished my undergrad degree, and I remember when someone called me from ANU, this was maybe a year after I'd finished my degree, and wanted some feedback from alumni students on their career post-university, right? And I remember she said, "Oh, did you find your degree helpful?" And I think that there's obviously a lot of different ways you could gauge whether your degree is being useful, right? But I feel like as a student who's finishing, obviously the main aspect of that is, do you have a job? Do you get a job from that degree, right? And obviously you have to pay so much money to go to university. Even if you're a domestic student, you'll just be paying it later. But I think because I hadn't gotten a degree from my studies, I said, well, no, like I don't think this degree has been that helpful because I'm still not employed. Well, I mean, I had a job, but I didn't have a job that was required a university degree. Like I was still working casual jobs in hospitality and stuff. So I think the main issue is, does your university actually provide you with opportunities to find a job? If I look at my own personal experience from two different universities studying very different degrees, there is definitely a big discretion between the more traditional universities that are very academic and very research focused versus I think the ones that are kind of deemed as like not as academic, but they do, from my experience anyway, did tend to help us a lot more in terms of actually finding internship placements, finding us jobs after university, and actually working directly with our teachers who were helping us look for those opportunities. So I think that, again, I had such different experiences from my time at ANU versus my time at RMIT. So
very different institutions.
Yeah,
yes.
Very different. Yeah. And I think as much as ANU always looks good in rating, when they come up with the university rankings and stuff globally, but at the end of the day, I'm being completely honest, the place you went to university doesn't really have much impact on you getting a job. And we'll dive into, I think later we'll dive a bit into what you can do to actually find yourself a job if you don't want to rely on having a degree, or you're looking to transfer from another industry and you already have a degree in something else. But yeah, I mean,
I think because university rankings, I think it's important for people to know that university rankings are given because of the research. They're not given on employability.
Exactly.
So, and I feel that sometimes when people think about a university that is highly
regarded.
Correct, yes, that's the word. Highly regarded in the, as you said, global ranking in the sector. Like my mom will be like, "Oh yes, this is a good university, you should go there." And it's like, okay, well, this is a good university because if you want to become an academic, and you'll have a lot of research opportunity, and yes, if you want to be an academic, absolutely go and do that. But maybe we need to when we are looking for that, we need to have more of a different rating, as in, is this university going to help me find a job? Is this going to give me the skills that I need to go and job hunt? Give me interview skills, give me networking skills, give me opportunities to network with other people as well, rather than just academic opportunities. Yes, so there needs to be less of a dichotomy, I think, between this academia and industry, which currently is still very rigid in some institutions, right?
Yeah, I think we should talk about your degree first, because you are currently studying a cybersecurity degree, but you were already working in, you were already in tech before you started working, before you started your cyber degree?
Yeah, it was almost simultaneous.
Okay.
So I had one day of my life where I bought a car, where I got a new place to live, where I got accepted into university, and I heard from the job in tech that I got in. It was one of those craziest moments of your life. And it's like, oh, okay, well, my life is changing fundamentally now. So we're doing a whole 180 on the previous life, right? And it's like, okay, so it was starting simultaneously. And I think working in tech and being cyber adjacent was really helpful to when I started studying already, so I was maybe a few months in the tech job. And when I started studying, it gave me a perspective of what the world will look like. Because so my first degree, when I did like straight out of high school, 18 years old, like started studying law, even though I really loved, even though I majored in STEM subjects like computers and physics, and I was really good at that, and like, oh, you should do law because it's highly regarded, right? Because this whole reputational thing.
Yeah.
And I did it, and I really liked criminal law and I liked international law, but like I would like do contract law, and I was like, why? No. And then you realize that you may actually like end up being a contract lawyer. And there are people that are contract lawyers that love their job, and that's awesome for them. I'm really happy for them. It's just not something that I wanted to do in my life.
Yeah.
And that's such a big decision to make when you are so young. And so I feel that my experience now compared to that is so different, because I went back like a decade later. So I had life experience, I had work experience, people experience, and I kind of, and I knew myself better, but also I was in the tech sector. So I could really have a frame of reference from what I studied and why is it important and what I should focus more. And because sometimes in my cybersecurity degree, well, actually most times in my cybersecurity degree, the people that are teaching the courses are academics.
Yeah.
And they're not industry professionals.
Yeah.
So it's very rare that we will have somebody who is both. And that is
very
huge.
rare.
Yeah. And that is huge because, for instance, and then I think a year and a half into my degree, I transferred to like properly cyber. And so it would be very interesting how like we will be taught something that is already so outdated because it's like 5 years old. And it is so ancient in the cyber perspective, right? Because it's 5 years old, it's like ancient, right? But it's like curriculum is written way like beforehand, and it's impossible to change it every 6 months. But that's what you need to do to keep up. So and I'll be like, well, this is irrelevant, nobody's using this anymore, because I work in cyber and nobody ever talked about this, nobody ever uses this, so this is not helpful to me for employability.
Yeah.
And my university, like the Deakin University, actually focuses so much on employability. And the work that we actually have a course that we need to take, is a mandatory course, where we have to do a fake interview, and we are given feedback.
Okay.
The interview, but it's a good thing. Like, it wasn't too.
It just sounds funny. Like you have to pretend to be going for a job.
Yeah, but like you have an appointment, and they gave me feedback on how I dressed.
Oh wow!
And I was like, I work in cyber. Like I showed up. Like
I showered today. I already do it better than half the people, I
think it was also like winter, and I was wearing like some kind of a jumper as well. So like,
you came in a hoodie.
Came in a hoodie.
And they're like hired.
And I'll be like wearing my glasses, and I'll be just like hoodie, and it's like rock on. No, she's like, you should consider like dressing up, you need the whole like suit and tie. And I was like, okay, I understand where you're coming from.
I don't think I've ever worn a suit to a job interview.
No.
I mean, I know that obviously for women we have other options of what we can wear too, but also like who's wearing, like also how many men would be wearing a suit to a cybersecurity job interview?
Well, they told them they have to, and so people were like really dressing up, and so she gave. I remember that because it was really funny, and she was like, and we were given like a brief about the job and about the company. And stuff, and obviously it was better than nothing, because if you come out straight out of university, I think this would be really helpful. We have to do a work placement, and it's really encouraged to get like a paid internship as well. And if you're already working, then you need to get like a higher position or a different position, so it's like it really counts. We always have to do like, how is this going to help me in my job? How is it going to help me in my job? How is it going to help me with my job? What do I want to... So it's really focused on employability, which I think makes people want to think about what they're going to do after university, and even like during their last years of university. But in my experience, working already, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. It's still not going to get you a job, because what you really need, as we discussed, and we're probably going to talk about it a bit later, is this skills, right? So, and we say this a lot. It's like, if you want to be a security engineer, like you want to be a vulnerability researcher, well, start now. What's stopping you? What's stopping you from creating a GitHub portfolio with your analytics, with your code? If you want to go and search for vulnerabilities, participate in the bounty, bug bounty programs and stuff like that. which are programs that from industry bodies that will pay you if you actually find a bug in their code, if you find a vulnerability in their code. And I know.
I think Apple recently offered $1 million if anyone found a vulnerability in their latest OS update, I think.
Yeah, we should put a link. Yeah, if anyone wants to go and
I'm not sure if it's still running because I can't remember how long ago this was. This might have been a few months ago, but if it is still running, we can definitely But I mean, even like at any point, like they don't have to be offering the money, right? But if you found something that was pretty serious, but I think that's like, I think you haven't read the book yet, right? But you have the book. This is how they tell me the world ends by
I want to read this.
The journalist, who worked who worked in that area. Sorry, like in cybersecurity, like particularly in like kind of US government sector, and talking to people who actually do those kind of like bug bounties and stuff that, well, before they were even called that. I remember she said in the book, like, because when Microsoft and Apple and, you know, all the big companies that were producing all this software that had these vulnerabilities, originally it was kind of taboo to say they didn't want you to find them, right? Because they were like, oh, this looks bad on us because we have we don't want people to know we have vulnerabilities. When obviously, like, there's going to be vulnerabilities in all software. Like,
of course,
if you have it out long enough, you'll find something.
Absolutely.
If you're not updating it. And then so you were saying, you know, originally when people were finding those bugs, they weren't being patched because they didn't want the companies didn't want them to know that there were vulnerabilities, but then they would just ignore all the emails and stuff from people trying to report it. Now it's very different. They want people to report it because it's kind of become, it's kind of like scams, right? Like people too embarrassed to talk about being scammed. But it's the same with vulnerabilities in software now. It's become normalized to find vulnerabilities, and we want to know that they are there so that we can patch them before the bad guys find them.
Yes, but it's like that security by obscurity, right? Or security by like being open, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yes, of course, like, and we did have an attack, right? Because it was, I think it was a Linux. Remember the Linux attack? When it was because Linux is obviously open source, and so it was last year, and it was quite massive. It was one of the biggest like Linux vulnerabilities, and it was a social engineering scam.
I think I remember this, but I can't remember what it was called.
There was a we'll put it in the show notes. It was massive. Like, it was all over the news. It was all over LinkedIn. Well, news that I read.
I was like, you know, like, I don't know, this was all over like mainstream news.
It wasn't like CrowdStrike.
It wasn't like, hey, how come I can't pay for my apples at the supermarket?
No, it wasn't that kind of news. But it was all over my type of news. I was like reading about this like social engineering attack, and essentially this perpetrator was talking to the person who maintains the code. And he was like, and the person who was maintaining the code was like really having it tough because because he's volunteering, right? So he has a full-time job, and he also has to do this. And then they were like literally like giving him a lot of pressure and everything, to a point where he's like, okay, fine, I give up. You maintain the code now. And then he started injecting a lot of vulnerabilities into the code. It was so interesting.
Okay, let's go back to the
employability. So basically what happened is that in my cybersecurity degree, my cyber career, my cyber job helped me more with my degree. Rather than my degree helped me with my job. Makes sense?
Other way around.
Other way around. And even like I could provide feedback to people and be like, this is actually very outdated, the industry doesn't use it. But it gave me a frame of reference. So it's like, okay, I don't need to know this because I need to know the newer thing. So it really gave me a good frame of reference of like what is needed and what is not. But on the other hand, which is really funny, the criminology degree, especially because I focused on the cyber aspect of it, and I did a lot of research in the cybersecurity, first of all, like industry, you know, national security, cyber crime and things like that. That gave me such a big worldview, and it gave me an advantage on people in cybersecurity because they don't have that. They're very focused on getting those technical skills that, as I said before, like, are outdated because it's impossible to get the one that is recent until you work in the industry. But that gave, like, the criminology degree and the approach that I took gave me a really different advantage on people. And even in my tech adjacent job, I got like to be in the cyberspace because of my criminology degree research that I did about media covering cybersecurity, because I was so aware of what's happening in the industry that then gave me an advantage of like being a researcher and then being like placed into the cyberspace in a previous job, where they were like training me up and giving me more technical skills, but now being more, I guess, in the governance, risk and compliance space, but also in general understanding the whole thing, it gave me a huge advantage because I actually know what's happening and I know what's going to come next.
Yeah, and I think like that's the issue, right? Because when people graduate from university and they have all these theoretical skill sets, and they know historical things basically for the most part, but then the people who are hiring are looking for people that know what's happening right now. And obviously it's good to have that context, but it's not going to help you so much if you can't hit the ground running because you don't actually know what's happening right now, and then they're going to have to train you up. And that's why all these job ads are like, hey, we need someone with 3 to 5 years experience for this entry level role. And then the person's looking at the ad going, how can I have 3 to 5 years experience if I've been at university the last 4 years?
Yeah.
If I think back to when I went to university, right, I was 17 when I started university, so I was really young. Like, I wasn't even an adult. So when I think back to like what my brain, how my brain, you know, the maturity of my brain at that age, it just like, it really made me think, when I look back now at the time I was at university, I was so young, I was so immature. Well, yeah, actually, yeah, I was pretty immature. You know, like, how can someone at that age know what they want to do with the rest of their life? Like, I just think that, I do think university is useful. I don't regret the degrees that I've done. I think university can be a really great place also just to learn social skills. I think like I learned probably more social skills at university than I learned anything in my classes, if I'm being, in my undergrad anyway. My postgrad, I actually did study really hard because again, I was older, I was more mature, and I was actually passionate about what I was learning. So I put a lot of effort into my assignments. Like when I was in my undergrad, you know, I remember I'd never failed anything in my life until I did like first year bio. And I was like, what the hell? I thought I was, again, it wasn't because I wasn't smart enough. I just wasn't studying.
Yeah. Oh, that is so similar to my experience because high school was so easy for me. I never had to study much. I just kind of like got by and I knew things and I just like, okay, I figured it out.
Yeah.
And then in university,
same.
and it's like, you have to study.
Yeah.
And I've never failed anything in my life until I got to like a law degree, and I was like, and I can't study this like because my eyes are shutting down when I'm reading about contract law and about property law. I'm like,
yeah, and then if you don't read it, you're turning up to the lectures or the tutorials, and you have nothing to contribute because you haven't read the. No, you haven't read it.
Yeah, so you don't. Yeah, absolutely. And it's so I can resonate.
Yeah. So I think you know, it's at that age, and then me going, I don't know what I want to do when I finish, you know, when I don't want to know what I want to do is it for a job, you know. And then so I just went, okay, what did I do well in at high school? So I just went, okay, my 2 highest, you know, classes that I did the highest in my ATAR, you know, for my final score, whatever, was music and Chinese language. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll study music / Chinese language. And that's what I did. But having said that, I had to do a performance to get into classical piano. So
that's so beautiful.
And it was a hard part, because ANU School of Music had a very high reputation, right? So there was me, 17-year-old kid, like just rocking up, being like, yeah, I'll do classical piano at the ANU School of Music, and I got in, which is like there was only 6 people in our class. But again, like about a semester in, I'm going, why am I doing this? Like, I don't want to be a professional pianist. Like, why am I studying this? And it was such a weird time because I was like, you know, just turned 18. During my first semester, I was suddenly being able to, you know, go out and drink and party and like go out on the weekends with my friends and go clubbing, and all this was so new to me and stuff, right? And I was like my first time becoming an adult, and well, I mean, well, you only become an adult once in your life, but you know what I mean. Yeah. You know, you're going through this weird transition phase of like being a child and becoming an supposed adult. Yeah. Because let's be honest, you're not really an adult at 18. But you know, having that permission to be able to legally drink and do all the things that you do at 18. But then me going, hang on, I'm supposed to be practicing piano 8 hours a day. Like literally, people were practicing so many hours a day, and I'm like, I don't know if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. You know?
Yeah, look, you don't give me an impression of a person who likes to sit down 8 hours without moving and staring at something
and playing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. I mean, I did that for not 8 hours, but like when I was doing my AME-B exams, when I was in high, you know, all through primary, high school, when I was doing my piano exams, I would practice every morning for at least an hour before I went to school. Sometimes after school if I had, you know, exams were coming up or whatever. So like most of my childhood was like spent practicing the piano. So I think that's why. And also got to the age where I was like, do I want to keep doing this? I've already been doing this for a very long time. But also again, it comes back to like employability. Like as a music student, your options are really like make it huge as an artist, which happens to very few people. And I don't sing, so I'd have to play in some kind of band. Or, you know, become a music teacher. And I was like, I don't think I want, like, and I did used to teach piano when I was at university as a casual job, and I loved it. Like, actually, it was probably my favorite job that I had. But again, I was like, I don't think this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then my other degree was, so I was doing a Bachelor of Music / Asia Pacific Studies. And then long story short, because I don't want to talk about this forever, but like, I dropped music, went to science because I also had really enjoyed biology when I was at school. So I was like, okay, let's maybe try out biology. The lady at the School of Science actually tried to put me off going to the science school because she was like, oh, but if you're so talented, you should do music. And again, it came back to the thing of like, yeah, but I don't want to do this. Like, you know, so this is my life. And I'm like, I'm sorry that you never learned to play the piano well, but this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'm sorry. Yeah. So then I ended up going to music school, and then I dropped the Asia Pacific degree because I didn't like the other classes I had to do, but I liked the language class, so I kept Chinese as a major. And in my third year, I randomly took up an art history elective just because I needed to make up my arts degree. And I took this like intro to art history class, and I loved it. Like, I was the teacher was amazing. And again, like, I didn't have many good teachers at ANU, if I'm being completely honest. Most of them were just there because they had to teach because it was part of their research contract, whatever. So I didn't have that many teachers that were really passionate about teaching. So I had a few Chinese teachers that were pretty good, but the lady who I had for the intro to art history, I can't remember her surname, I'm pretty sure her first name was Elizabeth, but she was great. Like, she's so passionate about art history. You could tell she really loved teaching. She wasn't judgmental, because I had other art history teachers later who were just so judgmental about the fact that we didn't know that much. And I'm like, we're undergrad students, we don't know anything. Yeah.
How dare you sit here without knowledge, so I have to teach you.
How do you not all have PhDs?
Yeah. Why is it not like a requirement
so
to get into an undergrad to have a PhD or something? I don't get it.
Yeah, like, how are you only like 20 and you don't have a PhD?
Yeah. Get on it. Yeah, do better.
You're so behind.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah. So I did that, and then, you know, years later I ended up going back to uni and doing a journalism degree. So I ended up graduated with my Bachelor of Arts in the end, so very different to what I started with. But in the end, I really liked art history. I thought I was going to go into art history or become an art curator or something along those lines, work in a museum. Like, that was what I thought I was going to do. Obviously not, because I'm here now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We never know, maybe in the future. And then, yeah, so I think it just goes to show, like, you might think, like, I feel like I speak to so many people who are, you know, either studying at university or haven't even gone to university yet, like, because I've done like some mentoring for students that are in high school or whatever, and I feel like I had the same mentality when I was their age, which was, oh, I want to do this, I know I'm going to go into this career, this is my life, you know. And the reality is that's going to happen to very few of them. Like, I'm not saying none of them, because I'm sure some of them will end up going down those down those paths, and they'll love it. But the majority of people aren't going to do that. They're going to graduate, they might end up in consulting, they're going to do this, they're going to do something random, and then like have a midlife crisis and be like, I don't actually like this.
Yeah, I think especially if you go from an undergrad and then you do like an undergrad program in government, it's very likely that you may stay within the same, because I feel like people who go into work in government, especially Canberra, right? like I feel like I meet people and they're like, well, yes, I have been doing this thing for like a while now, and I've been going maybe around some departments, but this seems pretty comfortable and pretty convenient. So yeah, but I feel like if you are going around and you're jumping around a bit, like in the private sector, it's maybe a bit more exposed. Why don't I become an accurate, or why don't I become a cybersecurity professional? And again, cybersecurity is massive as well. And so obviously, I think like with the government, it can be a bit more limited in terms of what you can do with cyber. And then like the private sector really gives you a lot more options in terms of what you can do and what roles you can do as well.
Yeah.
But it also like shows that rigidity of the timeline of a human being, right? So like you are born, you go to school, like I don't know, you go to kindergarten or whatever it's called in Australia, like preschool.
Yeah, most people go to kindergarten. Yeah.
Yes, I didn't. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There was like no kindergartens in my town, so I just.
There's actually kindergarten. Well, when I went to school in Queensland.
Yeah.
Queensland actually doesn't have kindergarten, so it's a weird system anyway.
Yeah, there you go. So it's not everyone, not everyone goes to kindergarten. Maybe to get a job in cybersecurity, you had to skip kindergarten.
Yeah, just that really formative year when you were 4 years old really set you up for like not doing anything else.
Yeah. When you like skipped kindergarten, you had one whole year extra to learn for your cybersecurity. Yeah. No time wasting. Get started early. So like like kindergarten, like preschool, primary school, high school, then maybe like TAFE for university, and then you get a job, and then people I guess like assume that you're a professional. This is your profession.
You get boxed in.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what you're
people
doing.
Will put you into. But then the thing is, like, people like being able to put someone into a box, right?
I love that
because it's like, oh, this is you. This is what you do, if you're a parent or not a parent, you're either single or with someone, it's either one or the other. Like, it's never like a spectrum.
You can never just be a blob of data. A blob of data points about you, and it has to be the same thing. And it's the rigidity, right, of the process. Like my mom, and I love my mom so much, and I owe a lot of my good skills and my good genes to her. But she'll be like, she's asking me all the time. She's like, so when you finish your degree, what's your profession going to be? And I'm like, Mom, I'm already, like, I'm working. I've been working my whole life. What do you mean by profession? So what will you be, like a cybersecurity? Will you be like a criminologist? Will you be as I don't know. I can be anything. That's the beauty of it. That's like,
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's the same in like, because obviously you didn't grow up in Australia, so I don't know if it's the same. But like when we were kids, it was pretty common. Like your parents would just say, "You can be whatever you want to be."
Yeah, no, I don't. It's like you can be a doctor, a lawyer, like maybe a computer person, but at that time computers were not as prestigious. Like maybe for like when my parents
computers weren't cool.
Well, I mean they were. I guess when my parents were like growing up and then they had to go to uni and stuff like that, computers were pretty, starting up and everything. So IT sector wasn't as huge as then, and I guess like my parents come from the Greek Soviet bloc and stuff, so they don't really trust systems sometimes. Yeah, so it's like, well, I guess you can go and be like in IT, but that's not the same as like being a lawyer.
Well, to be honest, I don't think it's really changed, to be honest. I think there is still like, especially with immigrant parents, especially there's still that kind of like, you can only be a doctor, a lawyer, or maybe one other thing.
Like a dentist. Okay, maybe.
Something that's like is traditionally like a high-paying, safe job. That you like and is well respected. I think the well-respected part is important. Yeah, exactly. But it's like the reality is like, if your kid goes and works in cybersecurity, they're going to be paid like as well, if not better, than someone who, well, I mean, obviously I know lawyers make a crap load of money depending on what kind of lawyer they are. And whether they work government or private as well too. But
if you want to do a lot of pro bono work, if you want to be in the criminal law sector and you actually want to like defend, for example, people that don't have defense, it's something that you're really passionate about, things like that, then you won't get paid as much. So obviously it's
but you're still a lawyer.
You're still a lawyer.
You still have that title.
You still have that title. But if we talk about work-life balance as well and your opportunities and things that you learn, like that's also important. All of these things are very important, and you don't know this as a 17-year-old or 18-year-old kid. You don't know this. You don't know a lot of the things you're going into. And I feel like we have people now studying cybersecurity. They don't know what they're going into. They don't know what the industry is like. There is a lot of like warning around burnout in cybersecurity and things like that. But how is somebody who is fresh out of high school is going to understand why this industry has so much burnout.
Yeah.
Like, how do you...
They might not even know that is a thing.
Yeah, and so how would you make that decision then? As you said, and be like, no, this is my plan. I have to stick with this because I'm going to do a cyber degree and I'm going to go and work in cyber. I'm a cyber business person forever. It's like, no, don't be that rigid. Actually, just do what you really feel that you're passionate about.
Yeah, and I think don't be afraid to speak up about what you want to do if you want to change as well, because it's better if your company knows, this is assuming you have a job, but if there's like it's better to vocalize what you want rather than, I think like a lot of people are too scared to say what they actually want, because I think the blowback might be that their company will be like, oh well, you're not invested in your current job, and it's like, well no, it's actually, I still want to work here, I'm telling you because I don't want to leave, but surely there must be like other opportunities in another area. But I think like and touch on is like people transferring from other areas, because I think it's a lot easier actually to transfer into cyber from another profession than it is to get an entry-level job, because unfortunately if you have work experience in other areas, a lot of those skills can be quite transferable into cybersecurity. We were talking before about law. A lot of lawyers end up working in GRC, for example, in governance, risk and compliance, because a lot of those skills are very transferable. Or people who work in finance are very good in GRC, especially if they work in the risk part of the bank or, one of those areas. A lot of those skills are transferable, and I talk to people a lot. But it's funny, one of my friends messaged me the other day and said, oh, my friend asked me to ask you if there's any university degrees you recommend for cybersecurity, because she wants to move into cyber. And I asked her, I was like, oh, what did she do before? And she said, oh, she was a lawyer. And I was like, oh, but she wants to do another 4-year degree. And she goes, oh, would you not like, and she was like, yeah, what would you recommend? And I said, well, listen to our podcast.
You're like, this is my business card. You're on Spotify and Apple.
No, I literally said, I was like, and like, not just to be self-promotional.
I'm sorry, I know what you mean.
No, but yeah, I mean, you're on the podcast too, so.
But it's correct. I wouldn't.
No.
But my answer would be absolutely
I
not.
was like, 4-year degree?
No.
HECSTET, freaking massive HECSTET. I was like, she's already got a law degree and she's worked as a lawyer.
Yeah.
I said to her, I was like, listen to the podcast, but this is what I would say off the top of my head. Like, go and network, go and meet people who work in the industry, talk to people who are already in the industry. Also, work out if you want to work in cybersecurity. Why do a 4-year degree? You might not actually want to be in cyber.
And you will not understand the industry by doing a 4-year cybersecurity degree.
No.
You won't.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that you won't understand the industry unless, like, so if you do an internship in like your last year of your degree, so you already spent 3 years not understanding the industry. You might do an internship. You're like, I hate this.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't want to be doing this. Why am I have just wasted all this time of my life? But there are so many other opportunities you can do if you already have a degree. You can do a boot camp. Right?
Yes.
You can do like an accelerated boot camp.
Or join, and related to boot camp, join AWSN, pretty cheap membership, $66 something from memory, and then do a program through AWSN because they're often subsidized by ASD or another sponsor, and then just test it out. So do like the instant response training or something and see if you like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they also provide a lot of certifications. So like for instance, before the certified in cybersecurity was free, I got I got through AWS, I got the certification through them. And they provide you, like, that's how we met, like, the Lumify people, because because they were teaching the course, for instance. And it was a huge opportunity to network. And even though I was already studying and I was working and didn't have much time to like go to events and stuff like that, but I was able to like network with people just even online, just even like doing this studying and everything else. So many other opportunities for you to pick up your skills, and especially I think with AI as well, like education is becoming more and more accessible. So as long as you know what you are studying and how to use AI properly, and you have some kind of frame of reference, that can really accelerate your learning process as well. So many ways to do that, and you have a lot of, I guess, like a lot of bodies like Asaka and IC Squared,
who also run a lot of networking events too. Like, just go to their monthly, look up your local chapter, whether that's wherever you live, like Canberra, Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, etc. and start going to events and start and volunteer for things. Like if they're like, hey, we need volunteers to help run these events, just put your hand up, you know, volunteer for stuff. That's another great way to meet people. You'd be surprised how many opportunities come from just putting your hand up for things and joining networks where, like, say if you want to go to an AWSN event, like the Australian Women's Security Network runs a lot of events across Australia too, so there's lots of opportunities to meet other women as well and find out, and yeah, just talk to people and be like, if you're interested in a certain role, like, you know, oh, I really want to be I don't know, maybe you are interested in governance, risk and compliance. You go, oh, I want to meet someone who works in governance, risk and compliance, and ask them like, oh, so what do you actually do day to day?
Yes, that's such a great question. What do you do day to day?
Yeah.
Because I used to ask this my mentors, and remember we talked about how many mentors I have.
Yeah.
I was like, I really want to understand every part of the industry because,
yeah,
you know, if I want to be like a pen tester, and then I spoke to a pen tester, she's like, I hate it. I'm like, okay, well, that's given me a perspective now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also, I think also, like, and I was saying this to someone the other day, there's a lot of roles within cybersecurity that you could do in other industries, but you're still within cybersecurity. Like, for example, pre-sales. You can do a pre-sales role across a lot of different tech areas, right? But like specifically, you would be selling to clients cybersecurity products or services. But it's also looking at other opportunities, and also, like, I think we've talked about this a lot too, but having those other interests outside of cyber can also help you in your day-to-day job, you know, and having those people skills, like we've talked about, like having been in, well, this is not a hobby, but like, you know, having worked in hospitality, those people skills are so important no matter what industry you work in. But also, like, you do improv, which also helps.
Improv helps a lot. I also forgot to mention, but when I was working in Crown Melbourne, they've actually given us an opportunity to get a diploma in leadership and management.
Oh,
so
okay.
I almost did the whole diploma thing, but I had to leave before I did my final assignment for diploma. So I have a certificate for, I think, in management and leadership. So even like working in hospitality and managing people, but also like social skills and people skills and things like that, but also having that education as well, even through that kind of role. But I think that also helps you, because then I think I do put it on my resume. People are like, okay, so you also have these types of skills. So, and these skills are important as well when you do GRC, when you do other cyber roles as well. Like, it's very important that you communicate to people.
And very few people, not only in cyber, but a lot of areas don't ever get that leadership training.
No.
And then a lot of companies don't offer it because they don't see it as important.
Correct.
And I think actually it's funny because I think in hospitality and retail, they actually do value sending their staff to those types of leadership training a lot more than you see in other industries, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it is actually, you're right. And AWS has a leadership pathway, I think.
Yeah, it's like a women in leadership. Yeah.
And you need to be, I think, kind of like somebody who is inspiring to be in leadership, who has been working for some time in cybersecurity, but it's not that much time. I think it's like a few years. And if you're inspiring to be in leadership, you can go and you can train. Like, my company is very good because, like, my mentor became my boss, and so he is with AWSN. And so he always sends us job pathway opportunities. Like, is that something that you would like to do? Maybe we use AWSN to send you to leadership training and things like that. But that's not very common.
No, I think it should be more encouraged for sure. I think, I went to a Mentor Walks event the other day, and I was talking to a lady from Westpac, and because you have to pay to attend the event, right? It's not that much, but I guess because it is paid, then you are expecting a higher level of mentorship. So it's a bit more professionally run. You know, they actually pair you up with someone that they think is going to specifically help your needs. Whereas, like, obviously with, let's say, the AWSN mentoring program is a little bit more, you figure out whether you're going to be a good match or not, right? Yeah. So it's a bit of a different setup. But she was saying that her, Westpac, I think, was sponsoring the event, so they were encouraging people to go because they were already paying for it, right? So they didn't have to, the staff didn't have to pay to go. And she said, it was kind of like forced volunteering. But I was like, but even the fact that your company is sponsoring this kind of event is good, because I'm like, a lot of companies wouldn't see this as useful, or valuable, But I'm like, one, you get to get up early and go for a walk around the lake, so you're getting in some morning exercise. and you get to talk to someone who has a lot of experience, so you're learning something. And I'm like, it's not much time out of your day because it's before work and then you just go on about the rest of your day. So yeah, it's like looking for those kinds of things. And then you'd be surprised, like once you start going to a few events, you'll start bumping into people all the time, and then they'll remember your face. And then we've also spoken about having a presence on LinkedIn as well is important, because you'd be surprised how many opportunities come from someone seeing your post on LinkedIn and being like, oh, hey, like, you know, would you be interested in doing this? And you don't have to have a massive following. I think there's this kind of assumption that you have to have been in the industry for a while to be a thought leader or to be posting. No, like so many cybersecurity students add me or follow me on LinkedIn, and I actually am quite interested in a lot of the stuff. And if you are posting, you're going to stand out so much because not many people post. So I think, and I was talking to someone the other day and I was saying the amount of people who actually follow up with you after meeting at an event is so low that if anyone messages you a week later or a few days later being like, hey, it was really great to meet you, like we'd love to catch up for a coffee, that happens so rarely that you're already going to be standing out from the rest of the crowd. So I think like it doesn't take much to go above and beyond.
Absolutely.
And this is especially, I think, important for people who are looking to move into cyber who don't have any work experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And if you don't have any work experience, that's the hardest, right? But I feel like, and that's like the biggest lesson I think from improv, from my improv teacher. And I think I was going for a job interview. He's like, oh, you can call me before I can like give you a few tips. And then I was like, okay, so what's the tip? He's like, people hire people who they want to work with.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Be a person that people want to work with. So like, yes, you need to get the skills. Yeah, you need to like, you need to lift it up, because nobody, I guess, kind of wants to work with the person they'll have to do their work for. Right? But it's not necessarily a particular rigid kind of framework of like you have to give this and this and this, and so collect like all of the coins in order to get to the next level where I get to meet the video game boss. And it's like, no,
video game boss.
It's like, oh, I need to get all the levels, so I can. Because
okay.
like, I feel it's like in life people think, okay, well, I have to have this many followers so I can be just on LinkedIn. I have to have this much presence to be like a thought leader. I have to do all these university courses in order to get into cyber. Nothing works like this.
Yeah, and also like you're making those rules yourself. Like no one's made those rules.
Yeah, this is all made up. This is
exactly.
Not real.
You put it into your own head that I need to do X before I can do X.
Yeah. But I feel like I've seen some people as well, like maybe on LinkedIn and other places, and they're like, okay, so like to get a good LinkedIn presence, like you need to have this many followers or and stuff like that. And this is how I got my first 1 million followers. And it does put like an idea into your head of like, oh, I am not as good. And it makes sense. But it's like, you have to remember that I think life is like this. This is what life is.
Okay, for anyone who's listening, Annika's moving her arms around.
Annika is doing interpretive dancing. Yeah, this is life is completely random.
Yeah, so exactly.
Just try everything.
And just put yourself out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, do it scared.
Yeah, do it scared.
Yeah. And don't like compare yourself to anyone. I think that's it's so easy to do with social media. We all do it, right?
Yeah.
To a certain degree. Like it's just hard because that's how social media is designed, to like compare yourself to literally everyone. Even to some random dude off the street, you're like, oh, maybe I should be doing that. You're like, hang on a minute, I don't even know this person.
Yeah, absolutely. This is how capitalism is designed as well. It's like, you need to compare yourself constantly, compare your status in. But I think if you change your mindset from doing that rather than following what you really want to do, what you're really interested in, what grabs your attention, what you're like, okay,
don't feel like you have to be on. And I do this so much. Like I am always like, it's actually good. I get this reminder from people all the time because I always just think, oh, okay, I've done this, now I need to do this. And then like, I'm constantly always thinking about like, what's next? And I got to do this. And then people will come up to me and they're like, who I haven't seen for a while. And they'll be like, oh my God, like you've done so much, so many things. Like you're doing so well. Like every time I go on LinkedIn, you're like posting about something. And I'm like, oh yeah, I am doing a lot, aren't I? And it's like kind of a good reminder because like, I'm always like so in my own head about like, oh, I'm not doing enough. And then everyone's like, I think because I'm actually in some ways not comparing myself to other people, I have such a high standard for myself that I'm actually like just holding myself to such a high standard, and that everyone else like has to remind me like, no, you're doing fine.
Yeah.
And it's like you're doing a lot more than most people.
Yeah, but it's like when somebody says it to you, right? Because they're like, well, that's according to your standards. According to my standards, I'm still not doing enough. So thank you so much for noticing. Yeah, but it's like, but I know what you mean, and I feel like it does escape you like how much you have done. And I think like for us this year alone, and we were talking about it right the other week, and it's like, oh, like this has been such a crazy year already, and so many things have happened.
And it's only June.
And it's only June.
Yeah.
And it's the beginning of June, and it's like, whoa. And for me, it was just the last 3 years, basically, as soon as I got into my cybersecurity degree, where I was like, I need transition. I need to be in cyber. I need to be not necessarily like, I don't know what I'm going to do in cyber, but I need to be doing like that. I love the whole cybercrime research thing. This is so amazing. I'm having so much fun. I need to be in it. And pretty much, as you said, like try everything, do everything, and do it scared. And I did that. And you know, and something's going to click. Something's going to work. And the more you do, the more chances you have that it will be more than one. Yeah. Basically.
And I also say, like, don't be put off by other people, because like not everyone's going to like you.
No.
And not everyone.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. And don't feel like, and I've never been a people pleaser, so that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a podcast series, like a podcast episode. I think it'll be actually really helpful for like how to not be a people pleaser.
Yeah. Or or how to stop being a people pleaser, because I guess I never have been one.
Well, yeah, how to stop being a people pleaser from like somebody who like, I guess, like is transitioning from being a people pleaser to not being a people pleaser to a professional non-people pleaser.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not to say that I never try to please people, but I don't care what, like for the most part. I mean, obviously to some degree, everyone is going to have insecurities at some point in their life, but for the most part, and I think the thing is for me, like I've never felt intimidated by people who are more experienced or have been around a lot longer than me, because at the end of the day, but you know, you see this on LinkedIn a lot, like people who post stuff that you don't agree with, or they'll have a go at you because they don't agree with something you've posted, and you're like, okay, you could have just kept scrolling, man. Like, yeah, you could have just kept scrolling. But some people
thank you for the engagement. Though.
Yeah, but yeah, thanks for getting me more views though.
You're like, noted.
Yeah, I'm going to start replying to people with that though. Thanks so much for commenting on this and getting more views on this post.
Yeah.
You'll never be ready, like 100% ready to do anything. So you may as well just start. You know, just do something. It can be small. Someone's always going to be judgmental of something you're doing, or the way that you're behaving, or the way that your opinions on something, or they think you're wrong about a certain topic or whatever. That's fine. Like, there's no, for a lot of things, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just your own opinion.
This is what it is. There is no... I'm doing interpretive dancing again.
Yeah.
But this is what it is. There is everything that you think is right and wrong again is made up.
Yeah.
It's probably in your head. It's probably something that some kind of a framework that somebody has made up, and it's like, this is the way to live. And it's just the only way to live, because I says it. And it's just like, well, okay, that's good for you.
Yeah.
But like, as the lady said to you, like, you are so talented, why don't you continue playing piano? It's like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm sorry. Like, what? No.
Yeah, I'm not going to continue doing this just because you want me to.
Exactly.
Like, and I don't even know you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a bit crazy, right? But if you have that urge inside of you, and I don't know how to like explain it properly, but sometimes you're like, oh, this is very interesting, and I want to explore more about this. This is the only voice you need to be listening to.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah. And listen to your gut, because your head and your gut don't always align. But your gut is usually right. Yeah, so go with your gut.
Yeah, because your gut is like all the stuff that you read from the environment. That is more than your head, because your head can only like cognitively analyze so much, right? It is a supercomputer, but it's not as much as our gut is. Like, our gut is like super AI. So that's why AI is never going to take all of our gut feelings.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's true, right?
AI doesn't have a gut.
Well, that's true, but also AI doesn't have the data points that your gut has, and all of the physical history of you living in your body and everything else. And it's like, yes, like that gut feeling, yes, that is what I mean by that urge, like that gut feeling of, yeah, like, I really like this. Like, I like being here. I like the people around here. I'm feeling alive, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, notice how you feel after you go to an event, after you speak to a person, right? When you come home, Are you energized or are you drained?
Yeah. Do things that give you more energy or inspire. You might still be drained, but does it inspire you to do something?
Yeah,
rather than did you just come back and go, I didn't learn anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't learn anything, and this was a waste of time. And like, well, I guess I have to do it, but because you have the gut feeling tells you it's like you don't really want to do it. So yeah, and that's not good for you physically, and then you're gonna have a midlife crisis or a quarter life crisis. You're gonna get a Maserati and be like, I hate my job. I don't know.
I mean, look, props to you if you can afford a Maserati.
I don't know. You probably can't afford a Maserati. It's like you see him, and it's like when you see some, like she had a really good post, like people who like crazy views about people about wealth and stuff, and it's like if you're driving a really expensive
you're probably
car,
in a lot of debt.
Yes.
So maybe don't buy a Maserati.
Maybe.
Especially if it's a new one. Because if it's a new one, it's losing value as soon as you drive it out of the car park.
Absolutely. It's depreciated 50% in value the minute they left the store. But again, like, sorry, it's just a very like big stereotype. I don't know like what a midlife crisis look in somebody who chose a cybersecurity career and doesn't want to work in it. I think it's just burnout.
Yeah.
I think it's somebody who just like went off the grid and went to Hawaii to do cocktails on the beach and is enjoying their life so much more.
It sounds pretty good right now, actually. It's because we're in the middle of winter in Canberra.
I was like, I miss the ocean. Miss the ocean in Canberra. I never lived next to the ocean, so I miss the ocean. I feel like an ocean would be nice.
Yeah, you miss the idea of the ocean.
I miss the idea of being next to an ocean and and having that summer breeze. But yeah, maybe it looks like that. You don't want to be in it. You want to be enjoying your life as it is now.
Yeah. Okay, I think that might be a good place to finish up because this has been quite a long episode. So let's finish up there. But yeah, long story short, go with your gut.
Go with your gut. That's it. Do you need a cybersecurity degree to work in cyber?
Yeah, go with your gut. Yeah, TLDR, go with your gut.
Yeah, I think this is a very good summary. Succinct.
Yeah, put that on the episode description. Do you need to listen to this? TLDR, go with your gut. Okay. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for tuning into this episode of Lost in Cyberia.
We'll catch you next time.
Bye. Bye.